Good evening and thank you for joining us tonight for KREM 2 News 10 at 10, where we give you more news in less time. I'm Cody Proctor. Mark is off tonight. Let's get started. And just like that, the wind kicked up tonight, but that's not the only rough weather that we're expecting ahead. Let's go over now to Chief Meteorologist Jeremy Legoo in the Weather Center tonight with more on what to expect.
Well, Cody, it's definitely the wind, and the wind is playing all sorts of role in what we see in the days to come, including some of those avalanche concerns. We'll get to those later on, but here, let's talk the wind because it is howling as we speak. Strongest of it expected overnight. Right now, we have wind advisories and high wind warnings remaining in effect through 10 a.m. tomorrow. Wind gusts up to 50 miles per hour in Spokane, Coeur d'Alene, and central Washington, 60 down across south central Washington and the Palouse. Widespread winter storm warnings in effect over both the Cascades and the Northern Rockies. Over the Cascades, up to 3 feet of snow. Northern Rockies, the better part of 20 inches is likely over Lookout Pass. 4th of July, you're still looking at more than 6 inches of it, and even North Idaho getting in on some of that action. Snow still falling in many of those mountain areas. We are clearing out from north to south, and that's a brief break. And then tomorrow morning, we see our next round of snow start early in the day. It picks up in intensity throughout the day, and we eventually wind up seeing it come to an end tomorrow night. And by then, we're talking widespread snow. Looks like a decent amount adds up, all said and done. I think here in Spokane, 1 to 3, Coeur d'Alene 2 to 5, Sandpoint 3 to 4, Lookout Pass more than a foot down across the Palouse, 1 to 3 inches, pretty widespread. And then comes the cool down. Wind tomorrow ushers in that cold, and we're looking at a big shift in wind direction by Wednesday. Temperatures fall into the 20s, and by Thursday morning, single digits.
Jeremy, thank you so much. And as the wind picks up already, some areas are feeling the impacts. KREM 2's Nathan Young has been out in the storm tracker this evening. How are things looking out there tonight, Nathan?
Yeah, Cody, well, we've been driving throughout Spokane and, we've seen branches fall on the ground, trees waving back and forth, but it hasn't been too crazy so far. We're here at Comstock Park and the wind did pick up in the last couple minutes. But as Jeremy talked about, this winter storm is not going to be over. There will be some snow tomorrow. Avista Utilities does tell people to be prepared for potential outages. Blowing objects and falling branches have the chance to knock down power lines. At last check, there have not been widespread outages in the Spokane area, but to report a power outage, you can do so on Avista's website. They also say if your power does go out, to unplug any electrical equipment and use flashlights instead of candles for safety reasons. And Cody, we'll be back out here right at 11 to let you know how it's going then. But for right now, live in Spokane, Nathan Hun, KREM 2 News.
Nathan, thank you so much. Now, as we continue to track these storm systems going into tonight, they're looking to continue to move through the Pacific Northwest. So let's take a look at some of our mountain passes right now this evening. First up, let's take a look at Snoqualmie Pass. According to WashDOT in their latest check, no restrictions at this time. The roadway is bare and wet with some areas of standing water. They've also been reporting rain up at the pass. Meanwhile, to go further north to take a look at Stevens Pass. Right now, according to WashDOT, at their most recent update, they are saying that traction tires are advised. Oversized vehicles are prohibited. The roadway has also been seeing compact snow and ice, and it has been snowing up at Stevens Pass. So keep that in mind if you are planning to go through that area. Then across the state line into North Idaho tonight, the Idaho Transportation Department's reporting some difficult conditions on Lookout Pass with wet roadways. For the most part, when it comes to 4th of July, that's been holding steady with relatively decent conditions. In the meantime, Keller Ferry closed tonight because of high winds. WashDOT says the ferry will stay closed for the rest of the evening. It's expected to reopen tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. In the meantime, an avalanche warnings in place for much of the Cascades tonight, or much of the Cascades. Erica Zuko from our Seattle sister station brings us more on the words of warning as skiers hit the slopes.
Every part of the season has its own kind of magic to it.
This week's forecasted winter storm is set to bring welcome snow at Stevens Pass and across much of the state. It comes after what the Office of the State Climatologist described as a pretty quiet January, with a little less snowpack statewide overall, though parts of the east side did see above average rain and snowfall. The Marr family among those making the best of today's conditions.
In the morning, it was really hard because there was like a storm and there was a lot of snow everywhere and it was like really powdery. It's hard to ski in.
WashDOT hit the roads with plows, and for much of the day, roads were bare and wet with a little slush in spots, but it could pick up. Meanwhile, the Northwest Avalanche Center forecasting moderate to high danger across the backcountry, warning Washingtonians to play it safe.
And that was Erica Zuko reporting. And as we continue to track the storm system, be sure to watch Up with KREM starting at 5 a.m. tomorrow morning for the latest on your morning commute. Developing news tonight, a family pushing for answers after a WSU student was found dead in a storm last month. Today, the Whitman County Medical Examiner's Office reported Luke Tyler's cause of death as suicide. The 19-year-old's family released a statement tonight saying, in part, "We are continuing to work with the authorities to determine how, in a short 4 months during his first semester at WSU, Luke went from a positive, compassionate, and kind young man to having a depression so deep that caused him to take his own life." He had shared with close friends that he was at his breaking point due to hazing at Theta Chi, and we look forward to learning the truth about his experience. We have confirmed that WSU police are still investigating Luke's death. The family's attorney, Becky Rowe, also says Pullman police are investigating Theta Chi for possible hazing after an online petition contained claims Luke was hazed before his death. Let's move on now to Night Beat with a quick look at the day's top stories. First off, Gonzaga University is planning a prayer service after a student died in a car crash near Ritzville this weekend. The Washington State Patrol identified 18-year-old Diego Garza of Lakewood as the victim. Gonzaga's president says Garza was a junior studying business administration. A community-wide prayer service is scheduled for tomorrow at noon. Also tomorrow, the Coeur d'Alene City Council is expected to make a decision on Core Tear. That's the proposed development plan to replace a field off Hutter Road with thousands of new homes, apartments, and businesses. People living near the proposed site say their peaceful neighborhood will pay the price. The Coeur d'Alene City Council meeting on this issue begins at 5 p.m. in the library community room. We'll keep you updated when the council makes a decision. And thousands of coffee giants, Starbucks' vanilla Frappuccino chilled coffee drinks are being recalled. The FDA says pieces of glass have actually been found in some of the bottles. Pepsi's voluntarily recalling cases of the drink. That's about 300,000 bottles. That was your Night Beat. To learn more about any of these stories, text the word NIGHT to 509-448-2000. We'll send them right to your phone. I'll take a look at your screen. An explosion at an Ohio metal factory sent over a dozen people to the hospital this afternoon. According to authorities, the explosion flung debris a couple of hundred yards in all directions, damaging multiple cars. A fire broke out directly after, causing smoke to be seen from miles away, but was shortly contained after. At least one person's in critical condition at this hour, while multiple others received burn injuries. While people are sharing their thoughts and prayers for the nation's 39th President, Jimmy Carter. It was announced this weekend he's receiving hospice care at his home in Plains, Georgia. At 98 years old, Jimmy Carter's the longest living American president in American history. Carter made his first visit to Spokane back in 1978 for the 4-year anniversary of the World's Fair. A crowd greeted the president at Fairchild Air Force Base before his motorcade took him to downtown. In front of a crowd of some 25,000 people, Carter dedicated the former Expo site as Riverfront Park.
You've transformed an area that was declining, that was far short of its great potential, into one of the nation's most innovative and refreshing urban settings.
Carter visited Eastern Washington a second time 2 years after that, following the Mount St. Helens eruption in 1980. For that video and more, check out our website at krem.com.